It's the way to go. Eat a fig, not a pig. Let your kindness show. If it's your wig or a jig or a swig, do you dig? Big. It's the way to go. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
When something's fat, there's a lot to show. It's gotta be fat to help the movement grow. Making fat loud chat that won't be flat. It's fat. And here's our show. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
I've just got that vegan glow, like a drag queen calling Patrick Goudreau. I'm a YouTube vegan cooking up good eating. Veganism makes me glow. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
All right, vegans, all together now. When something's fat, there's a lot to show. It's gotta be fat to help the movement grow. Making fat loud chat that won't be flat. It's fat.
It's the
and
way
here's
to
our
go.
show. It's Big Fat Vegan Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Vegan Radio's very first bonus episode. I'm here with Ben Strothman.
And I'm here with Laura Yaz.
We got a great question for our last episode and ended up consulting an expert for the answer. It turned out to be such a great conversation, we decided to release it as a special bonus episode.
We hope you enjoy our interview with Vegan Pilot Marty.
Hello? Hello?
Hi,
Hello?
is this, hello?
Hello?
Is this Vegan Pilot Marty? Hello?
Sure
Can you hear
is.
me?
Sure is, I can hear you just fine.
Vegan
Who's
Pilot
this?
Marty, hello. This is Honey LeBronx, a.k.a. Ben Strothman from Big Fat Vegan Radio, and my co-host Laura Yaz.
Hey Marty!
Hi guys, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Doing
Loved your
good,
first
how are
show.
you?
Great, loved your
thank
first
you.
show.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Welcome.
Marty, we have, we wanted to bring you on the line because we got a email from a listener, and I think that you'd be the perfect person to answer this question. So would you like me to read the message to you?
Sure, what's the question, Ben?
Okay. Well, an anonymous listener, I guess, wrote in and said, hey guys, I was just wondering if you have any tips for traveling that I might be able to use on the road and stay vegan. You know, like when you're in the middle of nowhere in the evening and you've just finished work, how do you maintain your vegan diet? How do you find vegan food?
Well, that's a great question.
It is.
Yeah, and
I think it's
that
one
I'm
that
on
a lot of people out there might have.
Well, they probably have it a little bit less often than I do. I'm on the road 150, 200 nights a year.
Wow.
So I run into that question quite often. And there's a bunch of things that people can do. I mean, obviously, if you're at home, you have your local market, your local health food store, you've got your options. These are not issues for being at home, but much of my travel is, I don't want to say that I never know where I'm going or I never know when I get there, because that would make me sound like I don't know what I'm doing when I'm flying an airplane, but I don't know what city I'm going to end up in any particular evening or what time I'm going to get there. So the first thing that I'm going to say is if you're traveling, preparation is the number one thing. And I could not really, let me put it this way. It wouldn't be as easy for me if I didn't have happycow.net by my side in my iPhone at all times.
Indeed.
An invaluable resource. And while we're talking about resources, any map program, if you put in vegan, will usually come up with a couple of other places as well.
Yeah, I've done that before, actually.
Yep, Google Maps, pull up vegan, do the search, and you'll come up with a couple of places. I would always say verify, call the number, make sure they're still in business, because I can't tell you how many times, and just like I refuse to ask for directions, I refuse to call, but I can't tell you how many times I showed up at a place that was closed on Monday, closed on Tuesday, or out of business, or had moved.
Mm-hmm.
So just verify all the information before you set out.
Totally. That's great.
Just today, Laura and I went to Maewa in the village, and, I knew where it was, and I punched in the address on my map on my iPhone, but here Laura was using happycow.net on her phone to find, all the information, so it's definitely very useful. And I've done that before with the iPhone map, where I just type in vegan, or I've typed in vegetarian, or I've just typed in veg, just to see what comes up, and that actually really helps. That really does the trick.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Marty.
Yes.
Marty, how much food do you pack on average that you bring with you? Is that something you do a lot? Is it like really a regular part of your routine?
That was going to be the second thing. The first is preparation, and the second is to take food with you. And if you travel on the airlines, your options are limited by what you're allowed to bring through security. And I would say that the resources for finding what you're looking for in most cities in America has increased by about billionfold. Because my two things that I seem to not be able to live without on the road are Silk coffee creamer and Daya cheese.
Yeah.
And I have seen these items pop up in Piggly Wiggly or Major or Giant or chain foods all across the country. And if you go to their websites, you can pull up where can you buy this. Even Target has Silk milk and Silk coffee creamer in many of their locations. So the availability of this stuff, if you can find a Whole Foods, you're golden. But every town doesn't have a Whole Foods. So if you can take a vegan salad dressing with you, if you can take a vegan bread, or even if you know that you like a particular bread, 100-calorie rounds that's vegan, you can generally find this in any major supermarket. And once you have your go-to items, you don't have to do the vegan ritual of reading ingredients every time you go shopping.
Yeah.
You can always eat vegan anywhere, but you can't always eat what you might want. And what I mean by that is, and Laura, you helped me with this, even though I haven't figured out where I'm going to put it or how I'm going to add the extra weight for the extra 2 pounds to bring my stick blender. But if I'm home, I have a smoothie almost every day. Yeah. And it's almost the same smoothie because it's so easy to make. I've got a blender, I've got ice, I've got frozen fruit in the freezer, I've got kale or collard or something, some kind of green spinach, mixed greens in the fridge, and it just all goes together with a little soy milk or almond milk or rice milk, and I'm done. It's really hard to do that on the road. So you can always get a salad. You can always find a salad dressing with no cheese or no honey. And one of the questions that vegans have to ask themselves, especially when they start out, is how deeply are they going to drill down into an ingredient list? And as we know, some honey is not vegan because of the process that it goes through, and other some sugar is vegan and some sugar is not. So if you buy a salad dressing that has sugar in it, are you going to roll the dice, or are you going to say, well, there's no beef in this, there's no chicken broth in this, isn't that good enough? What level are you going to drill down into the ingredient list? CSPI, I think it's Consumer Center, Consumer Science and the Public Interest. I can check that website. They have an iPhone application where you can look up any ingredient and it will tell you if that chemical is vegan or not. And if that's the way you want to live your life, if that's your choice, knock yourself out. If you say that these are the limits of my veganism today, and I'm on the road and I'm going to get a salad, for goodness sakes, and I'm going to buy some salad dressing, and it has some chemical in it, which of course we all know isn't ideal, but now we're not eating what we want, but we're eating what we can. Are you going to stumble on a particular ingredient in the salad dressing that's not definitively animal? I mean, it's not lard. It's not anything that's definitively animal-based. So those are questions that people have to answer for themselves as they travel down this path. But the bottom line is there's always a produce section. And if I mean, let's say the worst for most people is that they wouldn't eat a meal. Well, we don't want to go there. We want to step up one notch. The worst is that you're going to go and eat some salad or some pepper. So you're going to eat raw. You can
or
always
a bunch of fruit, right?
Okay, you can always pick up one of those pre-made trays in the supermarket with carrots and tomatoes and broccoli. Yeah. And you can chuck the ranch dressing out. So you can always find something. But I think if you take, like, my favorites are Pure Fit bars, and I like the Simply bar, and I take a couple of those so that I don't have to worry about getting to a supermarket. I have a problem a lot of the times with transportation, because when I'm dumped in the city and then I get a ride to the hotel, that's it. I'm limited to where I can walk to because I don't have.
Oh yeah.
So the other thing that I suggest is, and that goes back to preparation, is that if you're going to travel and if you're going to do some shopping, call the hotel and see if you can get a room with a refrigerator and a microwave. And the next question is, does the refrigerator have a freezer? Because you're gonna pick up an ice pack along the way. Yeah. So that all of your frozen stuff will thaw. I like to throw an Amy's burrito in there, or either breakfast or a bean burrito, just so I have something. I love their Amy's tofu scramble for breakfast with some Daiya cheese on it, and I just got these vegan bacon bits from Vegan Cuts that I'm absolutely flipping out over because they're so good. But my point is that if you travel and you have frozen stuff in a cooler bag with a cooler with an ice pack, at some point you're going to have to make the decision: do you want to go out to dinner, or are you going to eat your food? Because you can't carry it around; it just sort of turns into mush after a while. And with me, if I can go to a new restaurant and try something new, to me that always trumps having an Amy's burrito after 3 days in the cooler.
And I have to say, I think it's an excellent point that you made, Marty, about calling ahead to the hotel and seeing if they have a microwave, a coffee maker, just for your hot water and whatnot, and a fridge, especially because nowadays so many hotel rooms we have a fridge, and it's basically a glorified vending machine. It's a fridge, but it's got pre-stocked stuff in it you have to pay for. I'm finding fewer places now where you actually have a fridge that you can put stuff in. And hey, if you call and they don't have that available, you might say, I do have a special dietary needs. Can I keep some items in a fridge there? And, they can't tell me that they don't have a fridge or a freezer. And, if they're not willing to make that accommodation, you might just want to, even if they call your bluff, you might just want to say, well, I really can't stay there unless I can keep this or that in the freezer.
Well, that's a good point. What I have found is that you're more likely to find the refrigerator and the microwave in a hotel that's not a full-service hotel than you are in a Marriott or a Hilton. The Hilton Garden Inn or the Marriott Courtyard will have those items available in the room. But even so, I've gone to hotels that, like I said, they have the refrigerator but not a freezer, and I want to get my ice pack frozen. One thing that I do sometimes is I push it at the back of the refrigerator where the cooling coils run through, and sometimes the ice pack will freeze. But what I really found to be very simple is I ask them if they can put it in their kitchen or their staff refrigerator, write my room number on it. And I have never had anybody say, no, we can't do that. But the other thing
that's encouraging.
Most people, and if you tell them that you have a medical issue,
they'll do whatever they have to do.
And I think I said in our first episode, I hate having to play the whole I'm allergic card, but people are much more likely to, rather than trying to get them to go along with me on some ethical rant, they're going to get it a lot quicker if I just say, medical issue, I have to have this food, I need your help. They're much more likely to accommodate you and much quicker to do so.
You're talking about two different issues, Ben. You're talking about what I perceive our jobs to be on a daily basis and what you need on a daily basis. And I perceive our jobs to be make one more vegan every day. And if I can't, I want somebody to ask me a question about my button, about my bracelet, about something that I say. Can I move one grain of sand under their run-aground dietary ship? So, but the other thing is that you, at that particular time, need refrigeration for your food. So you have to make the choice. Are you going to bring up an argument at that point or discussion at that point about veganism and why, or are you going to try to get something in a refrigerator? So we have to make the decisions. And I've already gone through my day thinking about, did I make a vegan? Did I put a question mark in somebody's mind that in 6 months, okay, but right now I need to get something frozen. Okay? And if I have to play I have food allergies or I have this stuff with me that's special food, that I don't feel bad at all about that. I don't like to do that in a restaurant because I think that I'm paying a restaurant to cater to my foodal issues, so to speak. And the restaurant certainly has the option to say no. I have no problems with a chef that says, we don't have the time. We have a busy line. We're going to do 60, 80, 100 covers tonight. We don't have time to make your meal. But I do have a problem with a hotel that doesn't offer me some type of care for the food that I travel with. But that being said, one of the other issues about calling ahead to the restaurant that I have found more and more chefs looking at this as not the pain in the butt that it used to be, but a challenge, and more chefs are stepping up to the plate. And I've written about stuff on my blog, a place at Turks and Caicos that put out an unbelievable display of food for me, and I kept asking questions, and the waitress kept running back to the kitchen, and finally the chef showed up, and he was this huge British guy, and he's like, can I help you? I'm like, yes, what did you cook for me? Because it's great. And it was fantastic. Another place in Bozeman, Montana, the land of big game, where you can get bison and elk on your plate if you so desire. I walked into one of the nicer restaurants in town, I guess, and it was between lunch and dinner, and I said, chef was sitting at the bar, and I said, chef, can you do anything vegan? And he had like a health plate of 4 separate items, local, fresh food. And he you could see his eyes light up. He was like, well, I could take the yogurt out and I could put a cashew cream sauce on this. And he was just, so you never know what you're going to get unless you ask. But I guarantee you're never going to get anything unless you do ask.
Right. And, I find that, no matter what the situation, whether you're talking to a chef about getting a meal or whether you're talking to, AT&T about reversing some bogus charges on your bill, I always find I get much further in life if I start by asking the magic words, I need your help. When someone approaches me saying, hey, I need your help, my ears prick up and I'm like, oh, I want to be helpful. What can I do for you? Whereas if I approach something like, you know what, blah, 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 just having an attitude or having a problem or just demanding, I find people get closed off and they're less willing to help. But I also think that people who are traveling, the vegan traveler also needs to look at this as a challenge and embrace it. For example, okay, so I'm going to be traveling and I'm going to be on the road and I can't just call Zen Palette for delivery. Okay, how do I eat? And I love, Marty, I love that you also travel with a stick blender because I do too. Any store in the world sells chickpeas. And if you bring, a little bit of you buy a lemon, you buy some chickpeas, you get some olive oil, that plus a stick blender, you can make yourself some hummus, wherever you go.
Yeah, you can do it with a fork. But, the question that you're bringing up is, what level of involvement do you want to be at when you travel? Because although I like a smoothie and I don't yet travel with the stick blender, and I find that at some point I crave the greens. I just feel it, like I need something, and I'll go to a mall and I'll go to Smoothie King or whatever, and I'll start asking the famous vegan 1,000 questions, which brings up another issue. If you're going to travel and be a vegan, you have to learn about commercial cooking and where these ingredients will turn up, because you can order rice and know that it comes with some chefs make it with chicken stock. Well, I just went to a place that I was in California, and I went to a place called Wahoo Fish Taco, because they have a bowl made with marinated veggies and marinated tofu and brown rice and Cajun spicy beans. So, and I was with another pilot, and she didn't want to know anything about vegan food, so I had to find a place that catered to both of us, which I find to be the most difficult situation to be in. And quite often it's like, listen, there's nothing. One pilot I flew with had to go to the Outback Steakhouse, and I said, all right, I'll go with you. I'm sure they have a salad, and I can have a salad and a baked potato. But lo and behold, you have to learn to ask the 1,000 questions, because Outback Steakhouse makes their baked potato in bacon grease.
Oh, God.
So of course they do.
Of course they do, right. But you have to learn and educate yourself before you can ask the questions and before you can educate somebody else. You can't go into a place and say, I'm a vegan, can you feed me? Because you could say, I'm a Chevrolet, can you feed me? It makes no sense to people. You assume that they know what a vegan is. Well, I'm going to open up a can of worms here, so to speak, because as many vegans are out there, almost are as many definitions of veganism as are out there, or a vegan diet, a vegan diet. Because the last person who was a vegan said it was okay to have the honey, and you say it's okay to have nothing. And then the last person said they were vegan, but they ate fish. And then we had a vegetarian that ate chicken, and then so assume. So nothing.
True. That's so true.
Right? So don't go in and say I'm a vegan, because I've had this happen where they said, okay, so the prime rib is off the menu, right? But you can have chicken. So we have to then, we can't get frustrated. We have to start going into a teaching mode and a questioning mode. So because when you say something, you know what you're talking about. Can you make me something without any animal products? And butter doesn't even come into their mind. It's not made from an animal. It's made from something that's made from an animal. The broth, the chicken broth, it's not. I had, and I blogged about this, and I will freely say that Johnny Chin's in West Hampton was the rudest place I've ever been to, or I had the experience with the rudest owner I've ever had. And he said to me, well, it's made with chicken broth. It doesn't have chicken in it, and all the vegetarians here don't mind it. So what's your problem? So
oh, my God.
Don't assume that when you say, I'm a vegan, or I don't eat any animal products, which is why I keep saying it's the 1,000 questions. Does the rice...
You know what? I hear that, and I suddenly want to tell everyone listening to go to the Yelp page for Johnny Chin's in West Hampton and comment that they use chicken broth in their vegetarian items and that they're rude about it when you ask them.
they can just go to my...
and you're bored, go ahead and do that on Yelp. Let's get the word out.
You know, well, Marty, I wanted to ask you another question, because whenever I fly home, I try to have a layover in SeaTac because I feel like there's a lot of options for me there. Do you have like favorite airports that you feel like have good options?
No, my favorite place is not to be at an airport. But I will tell you, that flying out of LaGuardia about a month ago, the little concession stand that has the newspapers, the magazines, and the books, and the waters, and the couple of food items had very clearly marked vegan options. Now, to you and me, they're the same options that we find in every 24-hour grocery store on every corner. The little dumplings, the little noodles with seitan that are all pre-made. But I've also seen this in Chicago at a place called CIBO, C-I-B-O, where they have, and I don't remember whether it was Soul Vegetarians or it used to be Soul Vegetarian Restaurant. There were barbecue seitan heroes, hoagies, grinders, depending on where you're from.
Oh.
In the airport for sale, but you had to know where to go and to look for it, because out of the 150 items that are in front of you when you stand in front of a refrigerated case, you wouldn't look for it because it's so far from reality, far from our reality. And now, if you know that CIBO in O'Hare Airport has barbecue seitan sandwiches, you will go and look for them, and you will ask somebody because you know that they're there. So I don't know whether they still have those or that brand, but I've seen more and more places. And once again, yeah, okay, great. A seitan Parmesan sandwich would be fantastic, but they all have fruits and veggies.
Right.
So you can always find a meal, a vegan meal, even though it's not John to 12th Street, you know. All right, so here's another story. I'm in a hotel, and I come down for breakfast, and breakfast is just about over. And when there's a free breakfast at a hotel or a paid breakfast at a hotel, like you said, you can always eat the fruit, but that's about it. You can't make your own waffles because there's milk and eggs in the waffle mixture. You can't get any of the breads because they're suspect because commercial breads are made with milk. Can't have the pancakes, can't have the French toast, can't. So the other item that you can have is the oatmeal. But you have to ask them if it's made with water or milk, because I've had oatmeal made with milk. So, is the oatmeal made with milk? Hold on, let me check. Come back out. The oatmeal is not made with milk. Fantastic. You have oatmeal? We just dumped it out. But the chef will make you some fresh oatmeal. It's like, okay, that'll take 15, 20 minutes. But okay, no problem. They bring out the oatmeal, and I take one bite, and I say, is there butter in here? And the waiter says, no, we don't make our oatmeal with butter. I said, sure tastes like butter. There's something in here. Can you go ask the chef what extra ingredient is in here? Well, the waiter comes out white-faced because, sure enough, there's butter in there.
Wow.
Why is there butter in there?
Oatmeal?
Yeah.
That sounds disgusting.
Well,
that would be like putting peanut butter in shampoo.
I don't know whether that would work. There's some pretty unusual plants in shampoo, Ben. My point was that the waiter didn't know that the chef had gone off the script. And why did the chef go off the script? Okay, well, this was in Florida. And the chef learned to cook when she was up to her mother's knee, and that's how she learned to cook. And if you're from anywhere south of New Jersey, everything's got bacon grease in it. So she, in order to expedite the cooking of the oatmeal, sauteed it in butter first to soften up the oats. And she thought that she was doing a great thing to serve a customer oatmeal quicker because they had dumped the oatmeal out because breakfast had almost been over. So she was trying to help to serve the customer and ended up going off the menu. Now, this also happened to me in Pittsburgh. So it's happened twice. Now, the chef wasn't from Pittsburgh. The chef was from one of the Carolinas, and he came out and told me the same story. He said, I've always cooked oatmeal with butter, but not here because it's not on the menu. But since you wanted it, I cooked it up real quick for you. Now you have an issue where you think you knew because you asked, and the last 100 times you asked, it came out your way. But you didn't ask the next time. So now we know, we have to educate ourselves to what chefs will do. And like you, Ben, I love to cook. If I'm home, I cook all the meals that are cooked in my home. And what happens when I leave is another story that makes me shudder, but that's another show. So we have to, as vegans, understand what happens in the kitchen. And we have to understand that chefs look for flavor and they look for fat, salt, and sugar. And if you want to control any of those, you have to know the questions to ask. And for most waiters and waitresses, they try to do a good job, but at some point, it's a busy night, they've got 5 tables, and you're the pain right now. So,
and also, I mean, as a waiter, even no matter how much you communicate with the kitchen, it's still out of your hands once the kitchen is doing it.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's going to be a risk, and this is what really the bottom line is. When you travel and you eat outside of your own kitchen, you have to be ready to assume a risk that your food won't be prepared exactly the way you want it. And you like Colleen says, don't do nothing because you can't do everything. And if somebody makes a mistake, just acknowledge that it's a mistake and keep going.
Exactly. Now, who's this Colleen? I've never heard of her. I'm kidding, of course.
You're absolutely right, though, Marty. That's just, that's what they always say. If you go to a place that's not vegan, you're taking that risk, and it's not the end of the world, and it'll probably work out, but mistakes happen, and it's no big deal.
I'll just go out and say it. I think I ate animal products, within the last, month or two. Every now and then, something might find its way into your system if you're not asking or double, triple checking. I don't want to make veganism sound hard, but, every now and then.
You're just being realistic. There is a realistic aspect to it. Mistakes happen. It's not a big deal.
And it doesn't mean, I'm not vegan anymore, It's not like, suddenly I got a disease or I'm suddenly sick or I'm poisoned, or I've been killed. It just means, I'll just try harder next time.
Well, exactly. And one of the things that I wanted to tell you was about the Wahoo fish taco story. They opened one in New York City, so I went there with my family, and we usually went to Chipotle. Now, Chipotle, as you know, you can be a vegan by omission, and I use that phrase intentionally because if you can only give me spaghetti and meatballs, but you can hold the spaghetti for me, you can hold the meatballs for me, you've made a dish by omission. You really haven't created anything with your culinary skills.
Yeah.
So,
so true.
When I go to Chipotle, I get the bowl with everything, but hold everything except the onions and peppers. And if you ever go to Chipotle and you say, I'll just have it's going to be a vegetarian bowl, so put some brown rice and just the veggies, they give you as many veggies as they would give somebody who was getting the chicken, beef, steak, shrimp, moose, milk, and bison dish. So you have to stand at the front of the line.
I raise holy hell at Chipotle. My friends actually do an impression of me at Chipotle. It starts with this. They're like, what can I get you? And I say, new gloves. What? New gloves. What can I get you? New gloves. New gloves. I want new gloves. I'll start freaking out, and I can't help it. Because I watch them first off, people that wear gloves at Subway or Chipotle, I think they feel as if, like, their gloves are sterile, no matter what. Like, oh, but I'm wearing gloves. It's protected. No, you just touched meat. When you rolled up that person's burrito, your hands got all over their chicken chunks, you know, and you used your hands to push the meat back in, and now you're touching my tortilla. So and every time I go to Chipotle is the busiest time. I could break in at 4 a.m. and suddenly there's a line of students down the block, and I don't care that I'm holding up the line. I will tell them new pair of gloves, which in most Chipotle means they have to stop, take them off, wash their hands, dry their hands, and now that their hands have been washed, it's harder to put the gloves back on. And I don't care that I'm holding up the line. I do it. You know, even though that person is only touching my tortilla, then they pass it down to the next person, so I'll be like, now I want you to put on new gloves. And if someone else tries to jump in the line to help expedite it, I'm like, don't touch it. And then, you know, the guacamole, I hope people out there listen to this because, of course you're listening. Their guacamole is right next to the cheese. And because of how they grab things, the cheese always falls in the guacamole. So they'll say, oh, well, I'll take it from the bottom. Nope. You keep stirring that stuff in, and there's cheese throughout their guacamole. I have written them. I've called their corporate headquarters. I've posted on their Facebook page. And the answer I've got from the top people at Chipotle is, we're sorry, but there's no way we can guarantee cheese will not fall in our guacamole, and there's no way we can fix this problem. That's their official answer.
You can get a side of guacamole, and it comes in a little plastic ramekin.
Yeah. If you ask so I always ask for a side of guacamole from the fridge. Then they start to grab a side of guacamole from the line, and I'm like, no, not from the line, from the fridge, because your guacamole has cheese in it. And they look so confused and so like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, because I freaking love animals, that's why I'm yelling at you. So anyway, I am the biggest pain in the ass at Chipotle.
This is one of the questions that people have to ask themselves. Is it easier to just not go to Chipotle, or is it easier just to get the bowl with the rice and not worry about the tortilla? But if it's going to give you an ulcer, it's not really, you're not going to be around as long as you could be to help more animals. So,
sure.
I've actually never, thought about the cheese in the guacamole, but, I've never had a piece of cheese in my guacamole to make me think of it. But what I'm saying is that the people who work that line have no idea what you're talking about. But Wahoo Fish Taco, I go up to the young lady at the cash register and I say, I'm a vegan. I don't eat any animal products. I would just like to check to see. I want the bowl with the brown rice. She says, oh, you can't have the white rice because it has butter. I'm like, my first thought is, what? I'm like, that's a new one. Okay. And then what you'll also find, and this is like, you know the feeling that you get when you walk into a vegan restaurant? Of safety, of being home, of being, you know, I'm back to the womb. I don't have to worry about anything. I can order anything off the menu and I don't have to ask.
Freedom.
Well,
there you go. Well, when you walk into a place and they whip out what I call the book, you have to get that same feeling. Because they'll look at you and they'll say, oh, page 7, hold on, you're vegan? Okay, you can't have the white rice, you can't have the enchilada sauce, you can't have this, you can't have... Oh, man, did they just make it easy. Now, that's not foolproof.
You can't have the beef?
Well, they will tell you that some kind of a sauce is made with the chicken base. And you wouldn't know that. You know, the enchilada sauce is made with a chicken base. Really? I never would have thought of that. But they take out the book and they say, here's what we got. Now, that is also not infallible. I've come across a problem with the book once, and the problem is that the book, it was a recipe book from this chain restaurant. It's a Benihana-like place. However, they'll cook your food in a separate wok as opposed to the big, huge grill where all the meat is, and you get little sticks that you put in there. I blogged about it, and as a matter of fact, it's in Indiana, in the Chicago area. But I asked to see the book, and the recipes had in them sauces that you had to refer to other recipes, and then one of the ingredients in one of those recipes was honey. And yet it was listed as a vegan option, but they had changed their purveyor of that particular teriyaki sauce that they used in one of their sauces, and the new sauce hadn't been vetted for vegan or any non-vegan ingredients. So that sort of got caught up. And you say, okay, this is a restaurant that you go into and there's a big grid above the ingredients and sauces, and they actually have a column for vegan with the red dots, which are vegan items. So they're trying, and you can't really fault them for changing a purveyor and getting a different teriyaki sauce and not noticing that there was a different ingredient in there. However, I did tell them, and the next time I went back there, they still listed that particular sauce as vegan. So, oh well.
Well, Marty, I think that's these are some really awesome things to get people started, and I hope people feel a lot more empowered to go out and travel and take their veganism around the country.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you so much for answering our questions about traveling. Can you tell us about your blog? Because I love your blog, so our listeners can go check it out because it's really great.
Sure. Thanks for asking. My blog is Marty's Flying Vegan Review, which is, you can find that, strangely enough, www.martysflyingveganreview.com. There is no apostrophe between the Y and the S, so just martysflyingveganreview.com. And we're also starting a new website called veganmentors.org, where we're going to be organizing some vegans who want to help other people on any area of the spectrum of veganism that they choose, whether it's cooking a vegan dish for a guest at a dinner party, or it's fully enveloping a vegan lifestyle. We've got myself and Jeff and his wife Tisa, who are working on the website together, and we hope that that's going to be up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so exciting. It sounds like a great project.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll definitely encourage those in the show notes as well.
Thanks. It's going to be very similar to the AR Zones. I haven't gotten into all of their nooks and crannies, but they have a very similar program. I think it's called Vegan Buddies. But it's the same kind of thing. If somebody needs to go into a supermarket and have a walkthrough where we can point out what's vegan, what's not, and why, that's one of us will be able to do that. I mean, my schedule, either I'm working or I'm off. So that's a good use of the time. But I do want to just verify when I said that you can find these things at not a full-service hotel, you can also add that at a full-service hotel, you can call ahead and get a refrigerator, and they'll usually tell you if you have one, we can put it in the room, so it's hit or miss. And then they'll bring you a refrigerator that's warm, and it'll take an hour to cool, to get to the point where you can put your warm food into it.
Well, good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, are you where in Wisconsin are you from?
From Milwaukee. My parents live in Wauwatosa, but pretty much from the Milwaukee area.
You know the Palmino Bar?
What is it?
The Palmino Bar.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a bar.
Is that a restaurant? Oh, Palmino Bar. I don't think so.
Well, the next time you go home, you should go there and try their seitan and tofu wings.
No.
Ooh.
How do you spell that? Palmino?
Palomino, like the horse.
Oh, Palomino Bar. In Milwaukee, I'm all over it. I'm gonna be in Milwaukee for
Pride.
For Milwaukee Pride. Honey in the Bronx is performing at Pride Fest. I am definitely gonna swing up Palomino Bar. Thank you so much for that.
Well, Google it up. Look it up on my website.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what? I just pulled up their website. I have it in front of me. I'm all over this.
Nice.
Does that stuff look amazing?
Oh
It
my
looks
God.
so amazing. I was looking at those pictures. That looks yummy.
That looks amazing.
So this is what I do. I go around the country and I look for places like this that people who are from these places. I don't even know about. I'm telling you. Well, you all know Eddie Garza from Mercy for Animals, right? And so here's the story. I walked into. I'm listening to a podcast online with. It was a live presentation from Jasmine and Marianne. And it happens to be in the Mercy for Animals office, which is over here on the Upper East Side. And I'm watching this thing, and it's not really coming in very clearly. And I see, you know what? If I give up 5 minutes of watching the program, I could actually go over there and just watch the program live. So I run over there, right? I run over there, and I'm talking to Eddie after the presentation, and he says, "Oh, you're the pilot. You're that pilot, Marty." Okay. So he says, "We couldn't believe that you came to Dallas," and that's where he was either from or working before he got the New York gig. He's like, "We couldn't believe that you found a restaurant in Dallas that served vegan food that we didn't know about." So this is, I'm telling you, I've eaten at Millennium and Sublime, and those are the Candle 79s of the world, and I've eaten at little hole-in-the-wall restaurants in neighborhoods that you look around and you might not want to find yourself at night in, and have the best food. And even here in New York, there was a place up, it was in a bakery, and they set out a steam table, and they had great food, and every day they had a different kind of food, and it's on the website too. I can't remember the name of them, but they since closed down and they're just doing catering. But these places pop up, and if you don't look for them, you don't find them, and that's what I tend to find on the website. So tell me what you think of the Palomino Bar.
Oh my God! I already posted them on my Facebook wall, and I'm already just drooling looking at their menu right now. They have so much. I'm gonna have to eat every single meal at the Palomino Bar.
Nice.
Oh my God!
You know, that is a conundrum, I tell you, and it sucks so badly for us vegans when you find a place, and it's a place that does the vegan thing next to the regular stuff. And you want to go through the menu. There's a place in Rutherford, New Jersey called Rutherford Pancake House, I think, and vegan waffles with vegan sausage. Well, I also want the vegan pancakes, but I also want the tofu scramble. But what, you make a moussaka also?
Exactly. Well, that's why you got to keep going back there and check them off the list. I mean, this place, seriously, I'm looking at the menu, and everything vegan is clearly identified, and they have so many options. I will definitely be reporting for Big Fat Vegan Radio from Milwaukee. I will be reporting back on this after my trip there.
Well, then do not pass the onion rings.
Oh, awesome! I normally don't get onion rings. I normally don't get onion rings because they have egg and milk in them often in the batter.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all so here you these are the thin ones that, you know, sometimes I like the really thick beer batter ones, and these are the really thin ones that you take the ketchup bottle and it's unbelievable. Anyway, we can talk 2 hours.
Marty, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and to help out our listeners with these awesome answers.
Very welcome, guys. My pleasure. And anytime I can help you out, just give me a buzz.
Awesome. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Marty.
Bye-bye, Larry.
Bye.
Wow, it's so great to hear Marty's insight into vegan travel. Thank you so much for joining us, Marty.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. And thank you for telling me about the Palomino Bar. I actually, after we recorded this interview, went back to Milwaukee for a visit, and I was able to check it out. It's actually in Bayview, which is just south of Milwaukee. And oh my God, it was absolutely incredible. I had a sloppy Joe with a side of mac and cheese and corn on the cob. They have just an incredible menu, like just an unbelievable amount of sides and dressings and sauces and sandwiches. It's incredible how huge their menu is, and everything was just delicious. Of course, they did have taxidermy on the walls, but you know, it's a bar. It's a bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So what can you expect? Anyway, that's all we've got for this special bonus episode of Big Fat Vegan Radio.
Please let us know what you thought about the episode by contacting us at bigfatveganradio.com. Thanks, Ben Strothman.
Thank you, Laura Yaz.
Oh, and one more thing. Just, you know...
Oh, right, yeah. If you guys get a minute, when you're done listening to this episode, if it's not too much trouble, you know, if we, Go vegan!